Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, I hope you guys are keeping well. Hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys are good. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video as always, all that good stuff, guys. So Mr. Amir Khan has had a post-fight press conference where he said a very interesting point, which I actually mentioned quite a few times. He said after the Canelo fight, I was probably done. I should have probably have retired. And if you guys can remember, I actually told you guys this when the Kell Brook fight was happening. I actually said that I think Amir Khan was done after the Canelo fight. He wasn't the same fighter. After that, he became very inactive, and he basically disappeared for 2 years. And generally, when you get knocked out like that, it has a very bad impact on you anyway. Because this wasn't a Prescott knockout, this wasn't a Danny Garcia knockout, this was a concussive. He was out cold, and the mental effect, as well as the physical impact on you, generally means that you're never the same fighter. There's very few fighters, like Pacquiao's one, he came back from the Marquez knockout, but there are a lot of fighters that get knocked out brutally like that are just never the same. I'm not going to say that Khan was never the same, because he had been knocked out before, maybe not as brutally as that, but I think it was the fact combined, the brutal knockout combined with his age and combined with the inactivity after the knockout. I think he was finished. I think Amir Khan's style is a young man's style. I think inactivity for his particular style is a no-go. And Canelo really, I think for me, Amir was on the slide when he was going to fight Canelo, but I still think he was a top world-class fighter at the point he fought Canelo. Hence why he was able to give Canelo a decent fight up until he got knocked out. He was never going to win that fight. Canelo was too good a boxer and just too big for him. The size played a massive effect, because Khan couldn't really hurt Canelo. And Canelo just walked through everything, and Canelo was putting a lot of physical and mental pressure on him, hitting him very hard to the body, and you could clearly see that Khan's output and Khan's energy levels were starting to sap, and Canelo was just waiting for the right opportunity, and he found the right opportunity in the 6th round where he drilled him with a right hand, and that was it. And we always knew as soon as Canelo hits him with a big one, whether he'll be able to take it. Probably not, because Canelo's a very big puncher, and we know that Amir Khan wasn't going to be able to take Canelo's power, and that's what happened in the 6th round. For me, that was a very bad fight for him to take, because Canelo at the time was a monster. He was beating virtually everybody, and he was walking through everybody, and Khan went in there and was doing very well. It wasn't like he was totally outclassed. He was doing well. He just, Canelo was too big, and that was it. He hit him with the right hand, and that was it. I do think that was a disastrous move by Amir Khan. That was the time where he should have fought Kell Brook. That would have been a perfect time to make the fight, really. Even though I think at the point, I think Amir's best was when he fought Collazo and Devin Alexander. I think he was the best at that point. That was his best he's ever been. I think stylistically, I think the way Amir Khan was fighting, I think Barry Jones made a point on TalkSport yesterday. He said Amir Khan's speed was blind speed, where he was just natural talent. It was all gift. I do agree with that when he was with Freddie Roach. I disagree with that when he was with Virgil Hunter and in the performances against Louis Collazo and Devin Alexander. I think there was a lot more thinking going behind what he was doing. It wasn't just blind speed. It was speed that he was thinking what he was doing. However, when he was with Freddie Roach, it was just natural ability, just smashing guys up with his speed and flustering guys. He had a bit of power at 140, but I think when it came to him at when he moved up to 147 with Virgil Hunter, I think Virgil Hunter was installing that boxing IQ into him. Even though Amir Khan needed a teacher like Virgil Hunter to literally drill it into him every single round. And for me personally, I feel the best version of Amir Khan was the one that fought Collazo, the one that fought Alexander, because he was a very disciplined version. That was a very disciplined Khan. And Virgil Hunter was on his case. And whenever Amir Khan used to make a mistake, Virgil Hunter used to give him a absolute telling off in the corner, which would make him go reset and get back to what he was doing. I think Virgil Hunter was a perfect trainer for him. Unfortunately, Amir Khan, after the Alexander fight, I believe Amir Khan went off the rails in the sense that I don't think he was as dedicated, and he didn't spend as long when he wasn't coming into fight. He was in training camp, he was good, but I think out of training camp, That's what problem Virgil Hunter had with him. He wasn't very dedicated like a Canelo, like a Mayweather. And I think that was the problem with Amir Khan. I think that was the big issue, that he couldn't really sustain those level of performances, because I think when Amir Khan was in camp for a very long time, his performances would generally show in the ring. When Amir Khan had not trained and he just trained for a training camp for Algeria, he didn't really spend much time in between camps. He just went for a camp according to what Virgil Hunter said, and hence why his performance wasn't as good. Before Collazo and Alexander, he was training all the way through, and that's why those performances what they were. You know, and unfortunately, I felt like after the Alexander fight, Amir Khan wasn't the same Amir Khan, because I think he lost motivation because the Mayweather fight didn't happen, and I think Amir Khan at that point had just lost a lot of motivation because he expected the Mayweather fight to happen. The Mayweather fight didn't happen, and I just think Amir Khan lost motivation. He probably thought, I've been in this game for so long, I'm not getting the big fights, and he kind of literally got a little bit frustrated. Even though there was no need for him, because there was many opportunities out there for him. He became mandatory to Danny Garcia later on. He also there was a fight with Kell Brook, but it was a fight that he didn't want. You see, the Kell Brook fight was a big fight, but it wasn't a big fight to him, if you see what I mean. It was a big fight to a lot of people and a big fight to Kell Brook, but it wasn't a big fight to Amir Khan, and I think that was the issue. But having said that, I think Amir Khan needed to take that fight. I think enough's enough. When a guy is not fighting you, Mayweather wasn't fighting him, Pacquiao, he wasn't getting the Pacquiao fight, he had to fight Kell Brook. That was the time, because that would have been a legacy fight. That would have been a fight where, yeah, you could lose it, but you could also win. And it was a great time for him to fight Kell Brook. That was the time. That was the time when he should have struck, when the iron's hot. Unfortunately, he went down the wrong route of fighting Canelo Alvarez, and to me, it was a fight he was never going to win. And Canelo was just too good in the end. Like, that for me was a bad career move. I think that was a career move where it was a kind of like a dart, you know, throwing a dart in the dark, basically, and just hoping it lands. When you think back at it, it really ended his career. And I feel like if he had fought a Kell Brook or Danny Garcia, not to say they would have definitely won those fights, because they were tough fights, 50-50 fights. But they were fights where you probably, even if you lose, you're not going to be damaged like you will if you potentially beat Canelo. That was such a bad knockout. He was suspended for 6 months, because when you get brutally knocked out, you're suspended. You're probably suspended if you get knocked out anyway, but I don't think Garcia or Brook would have knocked him out brutally like that. You know, they didn't really have that kind of concussive knockout power. So it would have been good fights, and it was not as much damaging. Look, any fight can be damaging to your health, but I don't think the fights would have been as damaging to his health as this one could have potentially been. You know, you could get seriously hurt against Canelo. And eventually he did get brutally knocked out. And he was very lucky to come out of that, you know, unscathed, really. You know, because that, like I said, going in the ring with a bigger man like that can really crack. You know, it's dangerous. So really, to me, that really ended his career at world level. That was the end of Amir Khan, really. If we think about Amir Khan, after the Canelo fight, he was never the same guy. Look, he fought Phil Greco, knocked him out. Then he fought Vargas and looked terrible. You know, the only fight he looked good in, Phil Greco, but that was 50 seconds. Then he fought Samuel Vargas, looked terrible in that fight. Then he fought Terence Crawford and looked really bad in that fight. Then he fought Billy Dibb, didn't look great in that fight. And then he fought Kell Brook and looked probably the worst I've ever seen him. The Amir Khan that fought Kell Brook was, I think that was like I said this before, I think Amir Khan looked like probably one of the most, for a guy that was at the level that Khan was at in his prime, when he fought Kell Brook, that's probably one of the most shottest fighters of a world champion I've seen in a boxing ring, of a guy that was at Khan's level in his prime. To see him in the state that I've seen him at the age of 35, that's probably one of the most shottest fighters I've ever seen in a boxing ring in my whole life. I don't think I've seen a more past its best fighter, you know, that's 35. You know, 35-year-old, look at Costa Zoo against Ricky Hatton, he still looked like he was decent, you know. You look at Barrera, even against Khan, he still looked okay. He was just undersized and Khan was too big, too fast, but he still looked decent in what I saw, you know. And many 34, 35-year-olds, you know, look pretty good, you know, but Amir Khan just looked so past his best. And that was because of the fact that I don't really think he was taking boxing seriously after the Canelo fight. Look, when he fought Canelo, like I said, I think he was on the slide, but I still think he had enough left in him, and he was still good where he could go in there and give Canelo a tricky fight for, 5 or 6 rounds. But after that, he was no longer world level, where he couldn't compete with anyone really at top level, to be honest with you. You all right? Yeah, I'm just almost finished.
Okay, you set the room up for an exam.
All right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done now. All right, guys. I'm gonna finish it off here and probably do another video. I've got to set this room up for an exam, I believe, tomorrow. So yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Just let me know what you think about what I just said. I'll probably do a follow-up video to this. I've got to go, but yeah, I'll do a follow-up video to this, maybe talking with my brother and letting her know what people think about it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.